lives in your market become more and more crowded. It's time to break it open and really stand out. It's here.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. It's time for Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is FUHAD. This is the show where we look at major issues in the political space. Of course, a lot has happened during the week, the past week. We have a new week starting today. So many things in the political space. I think majorly it has to be the governorship primaries in Edo State, where the three leading political parties in Nigeria have produced parallel candidates. We're going to find a way to squeeze that in today. But I think we have a bigger issue to look at today. And for everyone that understands that governance in itself is about the provision of security, they'll say the first job of any government is to secure the lives and properties of the people. And so today we've decided to bring in a very popular Nigerian, someone sometimes that's is a bit controversial, but he has always been in the news. He has his own idea of how to tackle the rising insecurity in the country. And I'm talking about Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi, very popular Islamic cleric, and also a former senior military officer. So if you add the two together, you understand why it would always be interesting to have him talk about the state of insecurity in the country, the rising insecurity in the country. So we're going to have Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi join us via the phone line this evening to look at rising insecurity in Nigeria, causes, consequences, and solutions. So we're going to be very methodical with our conversation this evening. We'll look at rising insecurity in Nigeria, causes, consequences, and solutions. So by the time we look at the causes, we look at what we're facing currently as the consequences of what has brought in insecurity to this stage. And then, of course, we try to provide solution to it. We already have Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi on the phone with us this evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on mainland 98.3 FM.
It's a pleasure for me too, really.
Okay, well, I assume that millions of Lagosians are currently tuned in, listening to you talk to us about the issue of insecurity in the country at this time. I also assume that also millions of Nigerians are also listening at this time. And it's a global thing because we're also streaming the show live on Facebook and YouTube. Sheik, let's just go straight because of time. There's a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Well, you know, I'm over 40 years old, and I don't think I'm too young to say that, look, I grew up in a country where you could travel all through the night without any fears. From the south to the north, from the north to the south, east to the west. You had a situation where people traveled without any fear. That is no more. You know, I also knew in Nigeria where people could make their travels in the night without any fear. Now there's a fear of kidnapping, you have banditry, and a very disturbing trend when it comes to insecurity in the country. We'll start with how we got to this situation. How did we get here?
You see, it's a cumulative effect of neglect from previous administrations. When you have social injustice in a country, and the devil is corruption, nepotism, and whatever ill of the society you speak about is there in this country. So it's a cumulative effect of all these many years of neglect that has bred this. One, if we have a robust security, especially the police, if the police is robust, all these crimes will be checked. In fact, there are countries in which we have no monopoly of criminals in Nigeria. I can confidently say there are probably more criminals in the United States of America in terms of drug addicts, theft, and other things, kidnapping even. But the police is robust. It's up to the task. So even with a very robust policing, this crime could have been reduced to the minimum acceptable level. But unfortunately, all our systems are somehow either underdeveloped, underfunded, or even corruption in the system. So this is what brought Nigeria to this level now of insecurity, where nobody is safe, neither on the road nor at home. Wherever you are, you are at risk.
Okay, all right, Sheik. Well, I think if I get you correctly, you're saying corruption, nepotism, even corruption within the system, years of neglect of what we should have paid attention to, is the reason why we're in this situation. Is that correct?
Oh yes. Corruption everywhere. Let me give you an example now.
All right.
To get into the armed forces, whether military or police, now it's a lucrative position. People spend money to get into the force, as much as 200,000, 300,000, even 500,000. So how can you expect somebody who has bribed his way into the police force? How do you expect him to stand up against criminals? He cannot, because he's there just to make money. And any small opportunity he has, he will change a roadblock and start collecting money from drivers. This is the bitter truth we have to face. So until when there is a whole overhaul of the whole system, when I say overhaul, I mean overhaul, really. I think Nigeria can make it. Because Nigerians per population are resilient to hardship. We accept anything that government says. Look at Sudan. Just a mere increase in price of bread led to the downfall of al-Bashir. And before him, Nemeri, just a small increase. But in Nigeria, anything can happen and people will still continue to be patient. So I think it's a population which is good. It has a great resilience to hardship, but we should not take that for granted. So government should come in and see that it does the right thing.
Okay, all right. So we'll still come back to the issue of the government doing the right thing, but let's also look at insecurity in the context of regional and sometimes sub-regional considerations. I think you agree with me that depending on what you're looking at, in the Northeast, for example, when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria, you talk about Boko Haram. In the Northwest, you talk about bandits and then, of course, and all of that. And then in the North Central, when it comes to insecurity, you are talking about elder-farmer clashes and a mix of ethnic crisis in the North Central part of the country. In the Southeast, of course, you'll be talking about the issues of IPOB, ESN, unknown and known gunmen, and all of that. And then in the South-South, you still have skirmishes of militants attacking oil facilities and all of that in that region. And then, of course, in the Southwest, we also have issues of kidnapping. In recent times, we've seen situations where royal fathers have been kidnapped, some of them killed, school children being kidnapped and all of that. So you have these sub-regional dimensions and regional dimensions to insecurity in the country. But I want you to limit yourself to talk about the northern part of the country. And I'd like us to talk about the Northeast and the Northwest. Okay. It used to be Boko Haram problems in the Northeast. At that time, the Northwest was relatively safe. Not much of all of what we are hearing now. But now, I think the Northeast is not as troubled as the Northwest. What has happened? What is happening in the North?
No, I don't think it's less troubled. It's just that Northwest has overshadowed what is happening in the Northeast.
All right.
But the problem is still there. People are still kidnapped. Their villages are controlled by Boko Haram. There's no doubt about that. But it's more rampant now in the Northwest, whereby villages. In the Northwest, the dimension is different.
So what's the difference? What is happening in the Northeast, and how is it different from the insecurity we're seeing in the Northwest?
And the Northeast is mostly religious fanaticism.
Okay.
In fact, it started with the coloration of religion, although there is some ethnic factor to it, because most of the Boko Harams are Kanuri stock. Most of them. This Sheik is Kanuri, and Muhammad Yusuf is also of the same stock, and most of their followers are from there. Even though you have all ethnic groups there, but not at that proportion. In the Northwest, it's mostly the Fulani herdsmen that are involved. Mostly, but still you have some few elements, some few tribes, yes, you have them really, but not much. In the Northwest, it's not religious, but we fear what we are seeing recently is becoming religiously radicalized. You see, when they attack, they are shouting Allahu Akbar. This is a bad omen for us.
In the Northwest?
In the Northwest, yes. They are adopting the Boko Haram tactics and ideology. It's not too bad yet. But I think we should take it into consideration and consider it a big threat. Because you see, when you are committing crime, and you believe what you are doing is you are revenging or it's bad, it's different from when you are committing the same crime and you are shouting Allahu Akbar and you think you are doing God a favor. That is a bad situation because it's very difficult to convince. It's better somebody has this conscience that what he's doing is bad and that he is forced to do it or given all sort of excuses than to be a religiously fanatical ideology whereby Boko Haram are killing people in the name of God, wrongly killing people in the name of God.
Okay, Sheik, let's begin to talk about solutions now to what we have in the country. Again, I think you've been able to situate it properly. What we have in the Northeast being more of radicalism, extreme radicalism, while in the Northwest you have people who are just committing this criminality, again now having some form of religious coloration. But on several occasions, Sheik, you have questioned the wisdom and decision of the government to declare bandits as terrorists. Several, you said that look, there's really no wisdom in the government declaring these bandits as terrorists. And you've called for negotiations with them. You have also suggested amnesty for these bandits. I'd like to ask you two questions. Do you still maintain that position? Are you still of the opinion that, look, these guys should not be declared as terrorists, and that the wise option for the government would have been to negotiate and even grant them amnesty? And so let's start with that. Do you still maintain that position, or you have a change of mind on that?
In fact, my position is even strengthened now by what is happening on the ground. You see, a good doctor will tell you, this appendicitis, this acute appendicitis, when somebody has sudden pain in the lower quadrant of his abdomen, appendicitis, it's common. But if it is over many hours, like 6, 7, 8 hours, doctors, surgeons would tell you, don't treat, don't operate. Just treat him with fluids, antibiotics, until when it subsides and the inflammation subsides, then you go in electively and remove
the problem.
And remove the appendix. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. In this situation, it's like an acute appendicitis, which has stayed long. If you see you're going with force, you are going to make it worse. In fact, you compound the issue. So let's put wisdom. Let's go in. Since they listen to people, they listen to pressmen, they listen. Let's go in, listen at their grievances, and deal with them alphabetically. First thing first. Maybe let's give you this, then you do this. Give you this. We have to deradicalize them. Otherwise, if we say we used to force, then they will think you are taking side with the vigilantes, which they are staunch enemies. They think you are taking side with the town dwellers, which they are enemies too. And it's very unfortunate when we went in, they consider the military and the Nigerian government as part of them. And in fact, they mentioned specifically, we are not fighting the government. We are just seeking for redress. Our main enemy, they said, is the vigilantes that are killing them extrajudicially. So now, if the government will take side with the vigilante, in fact, creating vigilantes even, and excluding them in any force, then government is taking side, and I fear that it will become a completely different situation, as we are seeing now.
Okay. Well, again, the scenario you are painting now and the suggestion you're giving shows that you seem to indicate that we're a bit helpless. Is it a helpless, hopeless situation that then we have to begin to negotiate with quote and unquote terrorists now?
Yes, it's why I say it's hopeless. You can imagine that 70% of Nigerian landmass is uninhabited.
How many percent? Sorry, come again. 70%
of Nigeria. It's just pure, whether forests or mountains or whatever it is. And even the habited areas we have, like Lagos, Ibadan, Kaduna, we cannot police the habited area. What more of the areas that are uninhabited? And our capability and capacity is so limited. So now, if you say you engage people who are living in these areas in a combat, I think you just exhaust yourself and spend so much money that otherwise could have been used to civilize them, to educate them, radicalize them. We can do that.
Okay, well, you're a former senior military officer, Sheik. Would you have the same opinion about the insecurity in the country if you were still in the military? Would it have been a different opinion from now that you're no longer part of the military?
I don't think I will have a different opinion because
as a soldier.
Yes. I will have. In fact, many of the soldiers, I speak with many officers. They are on the same page with me. In fact, they say this is just the right way because they are the victims. You know, I lost a relative to ambush of the bandits. They killed him, and unfortunately, with 11 of his colleagues, we are losing soldiers too. So this is banditry.
Okay, well, because again, if we continue to talk about negotiating with terrorists, granting them amnesty, and like you said, it's almost like a hopeless situation. These guys can be defeated, if I get you correctly. There are people who think that, look, we should also look at victims of activities of these bandits, families, Nigerians who have been killed. Millions of Nigerians, or let's say thousands of Nigerians who have been killed as a result of the activities of these people. Some of them raped, some of them their property stolen, a lot of them killed, some of them still grieving as we speak. How do we give them justice if we are now negotiating with their killers, with their rapists, with people who have committed these crimes against them, and we are negotiating? How do we give those people justice if we're suggesting amnesty and negotiations with terrorists?
Okay, unfortunately, it's the same argument we hear from the bandits. They said they have lost their... In fact, we went to one camp, he was saying, every person you see here, there are more than 1,000. There is no one of us that has not lost a wife, an uncle, a children. In fact, we saw children at 12 years old with the rifles. They say they've lost their parents from bombardment and killing. So they are the same thing. It's the same argument. So, but do we continue to lose just because others have lost? No. It's just like what is happening in Gaza now. 7 October, yes, Hamas have done what they have done. But do we continue to lose people, innocent people? No. So the best thing is to stop all hostilities and sit down and see how we can navigate our way out of this problem. Because it's just not more than just criminality. There's an ethnic factor in it. There is also, in fact, a social factor in it. Some people are herdsmen, some people are farmers, and there's clash in old rivalry between them. And some people lost their cattle from cattle rustling, and they suddenly found themselves without any sustenance. So they resort to criminality.
Okay, well, let me just take this before we go into the next issue. Still on this issue of amnesty and negotiations with bandits. There are people who will say that, look, if we do this now, we keep negotiating, we keep granting amnesty, it will also embolden other people to go into criminality, because again, it's looking like a hopeless situation. We can also do the same thing, cause trouble somewhere in the country, and then of course the government would come and negotiate with us. Don't you think that if we continue to do this, we are emboldening more people to go into criminality?
It's not like that. It's not like that.
Okay.
Because if somebody follows a path and along the road he saw a silver coin or a gold coin, doesn't mean tomorrow when he follows the same path he will find the same coin. No. What I'm saying, we don't have any other group. They don't have this vast land of forest to hide. So anybody in town cannot just be like the herdsmen. They have a place to hide. And like the, Boko Haram, they have Sambisa forest to hide. But once we can negotiate peace settlement with these people and also secure our forest, in fact, sometimes using them as we use the Niger Delta militants to secure our oil fields, I don't think any other group will have any sanctuary where they can hide. So it's wrong to make an analogy with any other group.
Okay, all right. Let's look at the issue of negotiations now. Amnesty will mean forgiveness and all of that. But I want you to be specific. I want you to break it down. What were your suggestion in terms of negotiations? Is it about money? What kind of negotiation are you talking about, really, with these guys?
Okay, let me give an example. There's one we went to in Niger State. He told us he has a lot of dependents who are armed and they have been kidnapping people to sustain themselves. He asked us now, if I stop kidnapping, If I stop kidnapping, how can I sustain myself? He said that the government should give him so amount. What he was quoting, we thought it's a chicken feed. He said government should negotiate with him with the 30 million naira. Then gradually, if all crimes and hostility have stopped, he will make sure that nobody is kidnapped. Then he needs a hospital to be built. Then after another 3 months, if there is no any hostility or any criminality or any kidnap, they need schools. Then later he said we need the fertilizer because they have lost their camel and their cattle. They want to start farming. You see, even they themselves, they have a sort of demand which are reasonable. You know, in fact, sometimes when you look at it, you find some of it are their own right. I spoke with the governor then of Niger State, and he was telling me that yes, you see, that he had a meeting with the northern governors, and they were saying from all the budget they have been receiving, there is nothing for the herdsmen. In fact, what he said is there's a flood and farmers lost their crop. The government used to come to support them, but the herdsmen, when their cattle are arrested or if there's a disease killing their cattle, nobody comes to their help and aid. And he accepts that yes, the government has been negligent, has not been. They don't feel part of the nation. That's why. And now we have to civilize them, make them feel they are part of the nation, give them things to believe that yes, we are serious. And I'm sure all this thing will stop. For instance, now one of them said, when we sent scholars to preach to them, but we sent people who are herdsmen before. So they were surprised. They say, you are a herdsman, because he could tell them all these forests have been there, have been raiding cattle. They said, how did you learn? He said, yes, I went to school. So they said, okay, please take our children. We don't want our children to be like us. You see, now, if you have their children with us in different schools, how can they attack other people's children? They can't. You see? So these are what we meant by amnesty and a program that will rehabilitate them and compensate the victims. They are victims and our own victims too.
Okay, well, Sheik, so who will lead the negotiations now? What will be your suggestion on who to lead these negotiations? Or will you lead the negotiation? Can you do that? Or you think... let me just say, what would be your suggestion on who should lead the negotiations? And all of these amnesty programs, how should that be organized?
If you want their confidence, you have to go through their traditional hierarchy.
Okay.
Every herdsman has an arpo. Arpo means his own leader, his own traditional leader. You know, even in the north, the Fulanis, even Emirates, if we are Emirates, they have Sarkin Fulani. The Fulanis within the Emirates, they have their own circuit. So when you empower these emirs or these circuit or leaders or chiefs, tribal chiefs, through them, if you empower them, they have that ability to bring all these bad elements.
I'd like you to break down the word empowerment. How do you mean empower them?
Empowerment entails a lot of things. You see, let me give you an example now. I said deforestation. In fact, when we are traveling, if you see any big lorry or any big vehicle, it's not carrying any goods besides firewood. We're breaking down the forest like no man's business. People are breaking it down, and the forest is encroaching. And the desert is encroaching. So if you want to do afforestation by planting more trees, which is a United Nations program too, you can put them in charge because they are already in the forest. Put them in charge. Let them create companies. You see, when they create companies, one, you make a data available to you. One, you take their fingerprints, you give them their status, you know everything about them. You take, in fact, they have to open an account. They have a BBN. You know, you have a data. You know, how can you have security without data? You engage them, make them do something, and you put their chiefs supervisors over them. Immediately we can have a good statistics about them, know their whereabouts, know their relatives, and in this way, I think it will abate the tension and reduce their ability for crime. Now they can commit crime and go. Nobody knows them. How can you be fighting a shadow? Somebody you don't know. So you have to know them. How do you know them? You have to engage them, give them hope. And another thing we realize, a lot of them, being Muslims, they want to go for Hajj. It can be surprising. They are killing people, taking their wealth.
So empowerment can be as simple as giving them Hajj.
It can be because in Hajj you have to do a passport. You know him. He has an address. He has a next of kin. And once they know they are already known by the authorities, that will reduce by 50% their ability to commit crime.
Okay.
But now we are living in a wild west.
Okay, well, it's still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. We have Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi, very popular Islamic cleric and former senior military officer, joining us on the roundtable this evening. And together we're looking at rising insecurity in Nigeria, causes, consequences, and solutions. And I think he said quite a lot in this, just about 30 minutes of having this conversation. Well, Sheik, let me ask you, if we do all of this, the empowerment, get the emirs involved, do all of the negotiations, afforestation, you know, all of the things you suggested so far, can these guys be trusted that they will not go back to the trenches?
No, I can trust them. I can trust them. Do you know why?
Why?
From their discipline, you can trust them. How do you know you can? You can imagine how they are. They are untrained militarily, but they have great discipline among themselves. Just one Kachala. Kachala means the leader, commander. The leader will tell you, stay here, and they stay. Don't fire, they don't fire. They obey their leaders more than our men obey their officers. So once you get the chain of command in a proper position, they can do nothing. In fact, one of them told us, when we freed this afforestation, this Abubakar students, we negotiated when they were released. Some of the victims were telling us one of them wanted to molest a girl among them, and his Kachala means his commander said, if you any try this, I will kill you immediately. And that's how they were saved from any molestation. So you see, any group that have this feeling and they have a hierarchy, they're easy to trust. But if they are outlaw in the sense that everybody is alone without any group, and if they don't have your commander, that is when it is more difficult to deal with them. But they are not like that. The Fulani herdsmen are not like that.
Okay. All right. Before I move into some controversial issues, these negotiations, empowerment, involving the emirs, you understand their hierarchy, you say you trust them, that look, if all of these things are done, they will not go back to criminality. Now, should it be a federal government project, or you think it should be done more with the state governors of this state?
State cannot do it, because when I went to the Forest State that time, it says their budget is about 3 billion, or 2 billion goes to interest servicing debt. Only 1 billion is left for them. 1 billion is not even enough for pension and other things. The state government has no money to do this. Only a federal government can do it. And we suggest, instead of spending this trillions of naira on the military, please, military, they should be patient with us. I know they demand some money, and military equipment are very expensive. But yet, the money spent on military, if it's used on non-kinetic means, that is even engaging the military in building for them schools. As they are building for them schools and dispensaries, the military are also taking intelligence reports like that. Although I don't want to speak like that, sometimes they listen to radio. You know, a lot of things we can do, a lot of things. But the federal government should take the bull by the horn.
I think it's a federal government project, not working with the state governors.
No, the state government cannot do it.
Okay. All right. Again, it's still Mainland 98.3 FM Political Roundtable. My name is FUHAD. We have Sheik Ahmad, Abubakar, Gumi with us on the roundtable this evening. And of course, we've been talking about the rising insecurity in the country, looking at the causes, some of the consequences of the very bad situation, and how we can get ourselves out of this predicament. Now, Sheik, a lot of Nigerians consider you very controversial. Some of your statements are seen as sometimes even divisive. And I'm going to pick one of them because, again, a lot of our listeners who have anticipated this program have said that, look, I need to ask you this particular question for sake of clarity, or maybe you want to explain why you said what you said some months ago, exactly around October 2023, where you had said that, look, it was going to be dangerous to put that Christians cannot be trusted with Nigeria's security. It was reported by several newspapers. It was also said it was on your Facebook page and all of that. And were you quoted out of context? Do you want to clarify that particular statement as a leader in the country?
Yes, you see, usually the Western press, when they caught me out of context, generally.
Okay.
I noticed that since when I came out of the bush trying to reconcile with these bandits, because the issue of bandits is very hot, especially kidnapping and all these things. You know, I've lived in Lagos for more than 3 years. I lived in Lagos for more than 3 years, in 1982 to 85. And I could remember, I have colleagues then, they were telling me, one of them once came to us when there was a robbery in their life in Surulere. He was telling me he knows that robbers will just come to his house. It's just a matter of time. And a robbery, kidnapping, and all these things have been going on seriously in the south, you know. It's just now coming to the north, creeping gradually, slowly. So what brought about this Christian issue, we are talking about what we suffered from, not Christians, from bad elements among Christians as we have bad elements among Muslims. Boko Haram has killed more Muslims than Christians. And they are Muslims. You cannot trust Boko Haram. You can kill anybody. So what we are saying that we in the north have suffered from the hand of these undesirable elements who happen to be Christians. And I gave an example. The premier of Sokoto, who killed him, is Nzegu. Do you know that premier knows Nzegu 1-to-1? In fact, he went to his celebration in Sandos in London. He killed him. Who killed Murtala? It's Dimka. Who wanted to kill IBB? It's Gideon Oka. Don't you see that among the Christians, there are some type of Christians that are really anti-genic to Muslims. Let me give you an example now. From Vatican City to wherever it is, Christians are all up in America, in UK, and even the Orthodox Christians are against what Israel is doing to Gazans or Palestinians. But yet, in Nigeria, you have some evangelical that are pro-Israel. You know, all this genocide, all this. Why you in Nigeria, a black man, who even in the Israel, you know how the Jews even take Christians to be? They spit on them. And yet, why do you have some few evangelical Christians in Nigeria so antigenic to anything Islam, Muslim, that they are supporting Israel against this genocide? Look at South Africa. Look at Mandela. They are all Christians.
Because again, you know, you had also clarified it. You talked about this a lot of times, and people are like, "Look, just a minute, Sheik. I like you to answer this way. That look, we can't be talking about the forced military coup. We can't be talking about
they are Christian terrorists. So why don't Christians accept that they are bad elements?
Are you saying bad elements, not Christians? Now, I want you to just clarify that.
No. It's related to the religion. When I say Muslim terrorists, because they raise the flag of Islam and do the terrorism.
But does that make them Muslims?
No, but you still ascribe it to what they do. Yes, Like now, what Netanyahu is doing is not Jewish element. There are many Jews against what Israel is doing. Many we have seen, but can we remove Netanyahu and say he's not doing the Jewish extremist?
But you know,
so we have to accept. I accept Muslims. They have Muslim extremists. We have Christian extremists. We have Jewish extremists. We have secularist extremists. We all have that. We can't deny it. But what beats me is Christians don't want to accept that among them there are bad elements. This is what beats us.
Okay.
When we accept.
But don't you think we should remove religion, colorization from the issue of insecurity in the country so that we can all be, because again, don't you think it's dangerous to now begin to ascribe a religion to insecurity in the country or activities of criminals?
You are still generalizing. I'm not generalizing. You never generalize. Christianity is a peaceful religion.
Okay.
But are all Christians peaceful? No. Islam too. Islam means peace. But does it mean all Muslims are? Do you know that I get more criticism from Muslims because of my stance than even some non-Muslims? So we have to accept there are people who profess Islam or profess Christianity or Judaism that are still bad elements.
Okay.
They are causing problems. In fact, you see, when I speak about somebody, I speak about somebody who commits murder. I'm not calling for murder of people. I'm speaking about people who steal, corruption, people who do bad things. I'm not talking about all of them. Impossible.
Okay, all right. So I think it's clear enough that, look, you were not generalizing. You were just talking about bad elements, you know.
Nobody cannot, anybody cannot generalize. Never.
Okay. All right. Now, Sheik, there's this call for state police. I think is the in thing now. Everyone has the issue of state police as the major point of conversation when it comes to tackling insecurity in the country at this time. I think there's a bill in the National Assembly that has even passed the second reading on the issue of state police. What do you think about the call to decentralize policing in Nigeria? What do you think about this call for state police?
Honestly, I support it 100%. The only thing I'm skeptical about is when you give these our politicians who are still neonate in politics, when you give them some power, they will be using it to harass political opponents. So how do we counteract that? We should have a federal bureau of investigation or federal police too at the same time. That should look into political issues. Should never allow state governors to be arresting and molesting political opponents. If that clause added to it, then it's beautiful. I support it 100%.
Okay, all right, sir. Because again, there have been suggestions as to how we can ensure, that our governors, our politicians, don't abuse state policing structure. There are people who have said that, look, there should be a council in each state to run the policing system, MBA inclusive. Do you think we should ensure that the governors are not in control?
I know, but you see, if you don't have your control as is one control, then there will be chaos. If the governor should be in control, he should be the chief security officer of the state. But then, if it is specifically should mention, if he is a political opponent, non-ruling party, he has no power to arrest him except a federal. If he has any observation, he send it to the federal to do it, to do the arrest and arrange them in a court of law, a federal court of law, not even state. Because the judiciary of the state is under the chief executive. Otherwise, you have all these opposition parties in prison in a very short time.
Okay. All right. Yes.
One state party, one party state.
Okay. So, well, it's still a conversation I will continue to have, Sheik, this issue of state police. You said you are in support of it 100%, but again, you have your fears as to the abuse that could come from our politicians, especially the governors, who you say are still neonates when it comes to how to run the proper democracy. But let's go to the military now. Sheik, you're a former senior military officer, and I'd like to ask you, what would you consider the state of our military now compared to when you were in the military? What has changed, for example? How would you rate the military at your own time, how would you rate them now? And I want you to have this conversation with me, looking at the issue of remuneration, putting that at the back of your mind, looking at the issue of training, also the issue of professionalism when it comes to doing their job, and then the issue of motivation too. Any difference from when you were in the military and what we have now?
When we were in the military, my number was N6690, just about 6,000, but very few numbers. So the privilege you enjoy there as an officer, you don't enjoy it now. And in fact, many are telling me they buy their uniforms, especially the other ranks, they buy their boots, it's no supply by the SRT in that aspect. And the salary, I just recently had the chief of defense staff saying there are soldiers that collect 50,000. 50,000 is just your mobile card for somebody, who's with a lot. So I can imagine how they can survive in this very harsh economic environment. So that is the military. And also the training. The training, I think, for the officer cadre is better now because you go out with a degree. So as a soldier, even if army fails you, you can be anything. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be anything. An engineer, an architect. So that is an improvement really in what we have before. But the worst thing that disturbs me about the military, wallahi, is the corruption. The corruption to get in. Becoming more and more corrupt because officers now, when you put them in selection board, instead of us to bring out the best for the nation, many applicants are complaining there is so much nepotism and there is so much corruption in the selection system. I don't know. The government needs to look into it. The assembly needs to look into it. If any other system should be devised so that conscripts are not subjected to this kind of corruption in the early stage of their career.
Okay. Again, apart from the issue of corruption, there are people who say the military looks politicized. There seems to be some political coloration to our military now, and that the military is heavily politicized. How healthy is that for the military? Do you agree that we have some politicization of the military?
The top cadre, the appointment of chiefs is politicized because you can see that we lose a big number of well-trained officers just because the president wants to put his own kinsmen in position. And, you find that a whole court can just be lost, and this is wrong. We should leave the military to choose their leader according to their rank and seniority, irrespective of from whichever. Yes, when we talk about GOCs, yes, you should have a balance because from every region and every tribe you have generals. But you see, when it comes to the chief, please allow the most senior to be. And it maintains the
hierarchy.
Hierarchy is very important. Not that every president will come and bring his kinsman, his tribesman. This is wrong. And actually, I still blame the last administration for being so openly biased in such. We don't support it, and we don't support it in future appointments. Let there be seniority and professionalism.
No, I like to take you on what you have just said. So you actually agree with a lot of Nigerians who thought that the last administration under President Muhammadu Buhari was being too ethnic in his choosing and his decisions when it comes to the security of the country.
Yes, in fact, even before him, Jonathan was putting he was putting his own people there too. Anybody who comes, he puts his own people. This is wrong. Army should have a check and balance. But so when it comes to the top job, there should be seniority. This is what we think is the right thing.
Okay, all right, because I'm going to allow you to go very, very soon because I'm sure you'll be planning to observe your prayers. But on a final note, Sheik Gumi, it's been a very fantastic conversation with you this evening. Let me just allow you to advise the president Just 1-2 minutes. Give your advice to the president on how to undo this problem of insecurity in the country at this time.
Honestly, President Tinubu is a good man. A good man, but he needs good advice. You see, when General Gawan intervened in this ECOWAS issue, you see, he immediately responded to it.
Yeah.
He should have responded to it long time. We have been shouting. Let him respond to good people who doesn't just want to get something out of him. I think if he does that, he'll be a very good president. Nigeria will love. And economically, he should not listen to all this armchair economy. He should be pragmatic. Where I suggest he should send his economic team to China. China, they said in 1 year they were able to remove almost 100 million from poverty. Let him. What is the magic? Let him go and learn it. In fact, he should lean to the east. He should lean to the east because you see the economy is people's oriented economy, not like the Western capitalist and toxic capitalist economy. I'm not a socialist and I don't advocate socialism.
You sounded like that.
No. I don't advocate that at all. I'm not. But still, let him at this stage we are in Nigeria with so much unskilled people, more than 60% under the poverty line. He needs to look into the east and see how we can alleviate suffering, honestly speaking. So after doing that, then we can come back to our neutral position as the welfare state.
All right. Thank you so much, Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi, for finding time to join us on the roundtable this evening. We'll always reach out to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm migrating to Lagosians, all of them.
They are all listening to you.
I was 3 years in Lagos.
Oh, 3 years in Lagos. Where were you staying in Lagos when you were in Lagos? Which part of Lagos?
I was in Ikoyi,
okay. Ikoyi.
Yes.
Okay. It'd be nice to have you in Lagos. When are you coming to Lagos, Sheik?
Well, anytime I've been there, I can come.
When? Do you have any time? You have a time in mind?
Because now the Ramadan is coming and we have prayer sessions a lot.
Okay.
So maybe after Ramadan, yes.
All right. When you're in Lagos, it would be nice to have you in the studio live. Talk to Lagosians.
Really.
All right. Thank you so much, Sheik, for finding time to join us this evening. All right.
Here is easy to bring normalcy and redecorate. It's more difficult.
The general elections in 2023 have created conversations and consequences that will live with us for years to come. From the executive to the judiciary, legislature, media, and the people, organized labor, and civil society organizations, issues that will continue to shape the future of our country needs continuous probing and interrogation.
I see the greater objective for the party, and let me tell you, I've told the PDP in some locations that, gentlemen, be careful. Better men have founded parties that have gone into oblivion. Where's the party of Awolowo? Where's the party of Azikwe? Where's PRP of Rimi? Political parties must be nurtured, they must be reinvented, they must be true to their own ideology.
Join Okwayemi Akinyode and Said Fuad on Midweek Politics every Wednesday, 1 to 3 p.m. on Mainland 98.3 FM for thought-provoking conversations, voices from the top, engaging interviews, in-depth analysis on all matters around politics, policies, and governance. Midweek Politics on Mainland 98.3 FM, bringing the right perspectives to everything politics.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
All right, it's still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. Well, a very interesting session here with Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi. Very controversial, but he is what he is. And I think it's been interesting. We have Barrister Curtis Adigba on the phone with us now. Joseph Olonsho is also in the studio with us. And I think I'm sure we all listened to what he had to say. Let me start with you, Barrister Curtis. Did you listen to Sheik Gumi?
I think
you are sounding very foul, Barrister Curtis.
Can you hear me?
It can be better.
Okay, I listened to some of the things he said.
Yes.
Because I was in traffic.
Yes.
So I wouldn't say that I got everything he said, but I think I got some of the things that he said.
You want me to recap?
Yeah.
Or you
you give me a recap.
Okay, of course, we started by asking him how we got into this mess. We grew up in a country where people could travel even at night without any fears. You travel at night, you walk the night. Night travel was in thing some years past without anybody fearing kidnapping, banditry, and all of that. And of course, I asked him, how did we get to this very terrible situation where no part of the country is safe as we speak? And he said that, look, corruption, bad governance, that was basically what he said. Neglect of the people, failure of government. He was able to trace it to the fact that, look, you can't have this widespread corruption, negligence of people in power, failure of government, and the level of poverty in the country, and not have this kind of level of insecurity. And then, of course, I also asked him, the regional coloration to insecurity we have in the country. What's the difference with what is happening in the northeast and that of the northwest? And he said that, look, for the northeast, it's more of religious extremism.
Yeah, I think I heard him.
You heard him when he said all of that, yes. And that's in the northwest, you're talking about banditry and all of those kind of things. And
who are now beginning to add religion to it.
Exactly. And I probed him on the issue of negotiations with bandits. And that would that not be a problem? Are we in a hopeless situation where we now have to start to negotiate? You also listen to that. Okay, good. So, and then of course his controversial statements too that he made in October 2023 that the security of Nigerians Christians can be trusted with Nigeria's security. I think he was able to walk that back a bit by saying he was talking about bad elements in the other religion, and that I think I'm happy that he was able to say, look, generalization is wrong. There are bad elements in every religion, and it's wrong to generalize. I think he was able to walk that back a bit because I really wanted him to clarify what he meant by that. Although he went into the history of the first coup, the different coups we had, and the fact that Christians are led the coup. I said, look, why would you bring something of 1960, something that some of us don't even know about, except that we read it in history as a reason to begin to say some people are this and that. But I think I had to let him go on that. And then the issue of the state police, he said he agrees to the idea of state police, but we must put measures in place to ensure that, look, the state policing structure is not abused by our governors and our politicians. And then I think lastly I asked him about the military as a whole and the military we have now. And what he said is that, look, you can't compare the numbers. When he was in the military, they were just about 6,000 something. Now we have a bigger number, and that, look, remuneration is poor now because we still have military men taking 50,000. The training is not as good. And then he also mentioned the fact that, look, even in the recruitment process is not transparent. You now have to know somebody to get into the military, and that's not good for the military. And finally, he advised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said, look, he's a man that he's a good man. He said the president is a good man, but he's going to advise him to look more at other options when it comes to advice. He talked about the fact that, look, when the ECOWAS thing started with military coup in the Western...
Yeah, I heard that part.
And when General Gawan visited the president, we can see that he was able to change his decision on some of these countries in the West African sub-region under military coup. And he also talked about our economy. It was very interesting, that last part of it, that we should look more to the East, China and the East, for our economy, because that's a more resilient, more people-oriented economy than that of the West that is too capitalist in nature. So I think that's a recap of my conversations with him. So, Barrister Curtis, what do you think? What do you think about all that Sheik Gumi has said this evening?
I think first and foremost, Sheik Gumi should be in a hurry to arrange some kunu for you from wherever he is, because you gave him the opportunity to clarify himself
on a lot
on
of
some
things.
very controversial issues, and I think that he walked back some of the issues that had caused a lot of controversy in the country. Others he stood by. Now, I've been listening to him. One thing I will agree with him is that corruption appears to be at the center of the factors that are troubling this country. And we have said it. Even the president himself understands that corruption is our biggest issue. Now, you recall that in 2015, right? The reason why majority of us steadfastly stood by President Muhammad Buhari was because we believed that if the nail was your biggest problem, the hammer has got to be your best friend. We felt that he was the one who had a reputation for fighting corruption, who had a reputation for integrity and transparency, and that he was needed at that time more than any other candidate that was in the race with him. That was why we voted for him. Again, you will recall that even from 1966, part of the equation that led to the coup and the counter-coup, corruption was also involved. And right now, it's interesting to hear that the federal government is accusing state governors of not lifting enough weight. In other words, what they are simply saying is that the governors are stealing the funds meant for their state and they are not doing their work. In fact, the president of the Senate came out to say each of the governors had received over 30 billion.
They say they don't collect any money. They say they don't get money.
And the governors are now coming out to say, this is, and I said, may God continue to expose them so that Nigerians can know the root of their problems. So I agree with him completely that corruption is at the root of our problem. Look at the insufficiency foreign exchange that we are earning today. Why is it so? The fact is that you have been told that 80% of crude oil is being stolen.
Chief Obasanjo just said that.
That 80% of crude oil is
being stolen. Yes,
it's being stolen, and then the price is not too good at the international market, right? And so, where are you going to get the supply of foreign exchange from? And even at that, we have not even factored corruption in, because you heard how the former CBN governor forged signatures to take $6.3 million in cash. Who says that is not going on now? Even if it's not up to that level. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
You see what is happening to the dollar market. They just shared 1.something trillion. And from next week, the chunk of it is going to end up in the dollar market. Where everybody is paying lip service to the suffering of the people. So I think he said a lot of things. And I do agree with him in certain areas. Now, he also talked about the politicization of the military.
The military, yes.
A situation whereby the military is no longer guided by seniority
and hierarchy.
And I don't think I will blame President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for that. You recall that in the police force, right? This started, I think, with President Jonathan, where he would bypass the most senior military police officers and then go to get the junior ones. Recall that when Ogbonaya, DCG, a Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG, Ogbonaya, was appointed by President Yar'Adua as the next Inspector General of Police, leaving behind Okiro, who was his senior and who was supposed to have been forced into retirement, you understand? When it was immediately brought to the attention of President Yar'Adua, he reversed the appointment. He made Okiro the acting Inspector General of Police. And after Okiro, the same Ogbonaya, who should have been retired as a result of that the appointment he got, was kept in the police force until he succeeded Okiro.
At the right time, in terms of hierarchy.
Yeah, in terms of hierarchy. But when Jonathan came, he started, he retired all the senior police officers to go and pick Hafiz Ringim, who was the commissioner of police when he was governor of Bayelsa State.
Because of relationship.
And then, yes, and to succeed Ringim again was MD Abubakar. Again, all the DIGs were retired for MD Abubakar, who was AIG, and that. So you started that, and then in the military, of course. At the time in this country, it used to be a hierarchy, because you see, before you get into the top hierarchy, they had weeding process. If you didn't pass certain exams to move forward, you will not be allowed to go forward. But once you got to the top hierarchy and you have no criminal or disciplinary problems, you are bound to succeed when the position opens up. But what we are seeing right now, and before right now, is that people now, military men now lobby for position. And you find juniors being promoted to higher positions, and then you have a whole lot of senior officers who should stay in the military for their knowledge and their education, and the amount of money that has been spent on them,
training.
On training will all be retired, and the country is the one losing. That's why when we now begin to have this serious security challenge, the military is incapable of meeting the demand, for security and protection. And that's why Sheik Gumi is saying, listen, why do you go and expend your men? Vast parts of this country are uninhabited. The bandits and Boko Haram, have occupied this area.
He said about 80% of the landmass in the country is unoccupied, ungoverned spaces.
Yes. Yes. So he is saying that, look, why don't you negotiate with them if that will bring solution? Because he's been to the bush, he's met so many groups, and he has spoken to them. Now, and I heard the argument that he made, that the fact that you walk on the path and you find a golden coin does not mean the next person will find the same
thing. Yeah.
So the idea that if you grant amnesty to these guys, you are encouraging other people to take up arms. It doesn't believe that will happen. Of course, it may be right, it may be wrong, but we have seen it, because there are people who are now arguing that if you granted amnesty to the Niger Delta militants, okay, why don't you grant the same amnesty to others? But I think that what is key in what he said, for me, especially on the issue of the economy, right, is that there is a need to move away from the Western style economic system. Because when you ask yourself, recall that under President Muhammad Buhari, following the visit of the Chinese President Xi Jinping to Nigeria,
yes,
Angela Merkel, then Chancellor of Germany, visited Nigeria. 2 days later, Theresa May, the Prime Minister of the UK, visited Nigeria. And then U.S. Secretary of State visited Nigeria.
Because China came here.
Yes, all with one message. Do not look towards China.
Or China.
Yes, don't look towards China. But for years, almost 80, 70 years, we've looked up to them. You understand? All we get from them,
not gotten any better.
All we get from them, are these prescriptions. Hey, remove this, remove that, remove this, remove that. And then this things leads to instability in our continent and hinders development. So I think that for once, because look, did China develop through the IMF prescriptions? IMF and World Bank prescriptions?
He said they developed on their own. They looked inwards, it was a very rugged kind of model. And here they are today.
Same thing for Vietnam. In fact, for all the Asian tigers.
That's why I say we should look towards the east.
So they developed on their own. So I think that he said some good things. What I tend to disagree with
I was waiting for that. Where's your area of disagreement with him?
I mean, is to say that the bad eggs within the military alone were Christians, and that majority of the coups
were done by Christians.
Took place in the army were done by Christians. Well, except Murtala Muhammad was a Christian and we didn't know because he was involved in a coup. Maybe Sani Abacha was a Catholic or a Methodist and we didn't know.
Well, he walked it back a bit and said, look, it's even wrong to generalize, so
but
I didn't want to overstretch that,
but so I think Babangida probably was a Pentecostal.
But Barrister Curtis, don't you think it was good that we made him to use to correct himself and say it was wrong to generalize?
That's why I say he should send you Kunu for giving him the opportunity. I mean, other than that, I think it was vintage Sheik Gumi,
that we know.
he's always called for amnesty for these guys. And like he gave you the medical analogy of when you have acute appendicitis.
Yeah, you don't
and
just
then
go
you decide to, you don't just go in. You just take give them antibiotics, allow things to calm down, and then you do elective surgery. And so, I mean, you did him a lot of favor by giving him the opportunity to explain to the Lagos audience, at least.
You know, he's a very controversial person. I think it was an opportunity again for a lot of Nigerians to now also listen and hear him out. You know, he said, look, the Western media, I don't know what he means by that anyway, but I've always misquoted him. They've always quoted him out of context. But again, I think it was a brilliant conversation. I think there are a lot of takeaways. We have Joseph Olorunso here in the studio. Joseph, what was your takeaway from all that Sheik Gumi said before we open our phone lines?
Yeah, my takeaway is I wish, because you actually make people to know that people are going to hear from Sheik Gumi. I wish all our policing agency are able to possibly even record it, listing those that
what
make
he
decision.
said. It's so many
because
things.
That is where civilized country address some of their issue. Because I don't say it here. You have to find a way to what the person did not say when he say what he's saying. There's a place that he pause and say, even some of this that I'm saying, I know that some of them listen to radio.
Yeah,
they will not be happy.
But they listen to what we are saying.
But so it's like someone putting it's a risk for him saying a lot of things.
And he said a whole lot too.
The challenge that we do have here is at the end of the day, what will our policing agency do with some of this information? Because he said we have a lot of ungoverned spaces. So what are we going to do? Then the issue of corruption, I don't know what we are going to do with that. If military, then we have a lot of corruption in terms of recruitment process.
Remuneration.
Last year that thing it was revealed whereby someone say it's from Lagos Island.
When some northerners were standing in from Lagosians,
there are so many issues. Then they look at the issue of he made mention of the police too. That if you talk of they are just putting their life on the line. They look at someone, a military man being paid
50,000
naira.
He said that's like recharge card money for some people.
So just so many things that, but in all, I felt, let me say, I think credit should still be to Mainland FM for being patriotic and say, okay, do you know we need to, because
from the other side,
I don't know if the road, the school, everything revolve around
all the bags of rice we are expecting from the governors.
That is
without security.
Without security, you cannot even go there to go and collect it. So I believe the system should be able to pick a message from there and we make a best use of. Then the issue of I keep behind Barrister Curtis on. Let us even try the China side,
the Chinese model.
So let us look inward. If you go to the World Bank, this woman goes in while I say Nigeria, assuming this place is conducive, and I think America will not be queuing again and say, I think Nigeria can become an heaven for many of them. If our leaders able to say, let's look inward. And
let's look at a different model.
I was reading one history and said there was a time that Nigeria borrowed money to IMF. It is the same IMF that will not be telling that tomorrow they say remove subsidy. Another way they say no, put subsidy. So it's as if they are just looking at us as if we don't know what we are doing.
Okay, all right. Because I want to open the phone lines. Okay, Barrister Curtis, you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm also going to talk about the remuneration for the military.
For the military, yes.
I don't understand why people keep talking about patriotism from certain group of citizens and not from others. Now, if your stay in a place, or your peace, or your living, or your life depends on the activities of certain individuals, how can you keep them poorly remunerated?
And you expect them to perform.
Expect them to give their best. If you go to Abuja, there is no minister that is not being secured by police and soldiers. I mean, I'm not even talking about governors and the president. Members of the National Assembly, the same. Do you know how much a member of the National Assembly earns? And yet he does not risk his life for this country.
And the man securing him gets 50,000.
In fact, he spends his life in utmost luxury. But the man who is in the forest combating very dangerous elements, all you can manage to pay him is 50,000. Why do you think he will fight with all that he has got and with his heart to serve this country? And when he's killed, what happened? Within a matter of months, his family is dislodged from the barracks. And then, if they are lucky, they get a little bit of his entitlement. Because when you ask yourself, look at the people who are served and are living. Sometimes they don't get their pension for years. And then they tell them they should all show up in Abuja, proof of life. You have all kind of exercise going on. I told you a story of how an 89-year-old woman had to leave the United Kingdom last 2 weeks
for physical verification
to be verified for her pension. This woman had worked in the UK for so many years, retired, and came back to Nigeria and served as a matron of another hospital for years, where she also qualified for pension. While she was living in Nigeria here, her pension were being paid monthly into her account in the UK. When she relocated to the UK because the children insisted she had to go because of her health condition, right? Her pensions in the UK are being paid monthly, but her pensions in Nigeria were not being paid. And now she has to come back to do some verification. And she's not even sure that after that exercise, her pensions will be paid. So I think this is an area that the president should look into. Don't forget that during the campaign, he had promised to hire more personnel for the military.
For the military, yeah.
As a way of combating unemployment and then strengthening the military. But I think he should just go beyond hiring more now to improving greatly on their welfare, so that they can begin to feel more patriotic about the cause that they are fighting.
All right, patriotism will not be by mouth. If I hear you, because the president has told us that we should be reciting the national pledge every day. All right, Mr. Curtis, I want you to do this in 2 minutes. Joseph Olonsho, you're also going to do this in 2 minutes, and then at exactly 7:25, we'll open the phone lines. Edo politics. I want us to touch on it briefly, Mr. Curtis. After all the political bubu yaya in Edo State, the 3 leading political parties have produced parallel candidates, at least from the reports we're getting. The APC, after the inconclusive and then concluded elections, declared Senator Monday Okpebolo as the candidate of the party. And while they were doing that, a particular Honorable Dennis Idahosa, who had earlier been declared winner by the Opus Odima led committee on the elections, led a protest to the National Secretariat of the APC and is still laying claim to the candidature of that party. That's from the APC. That is as it is today. The PDP also held their own primaries and declared Aswe Godalo as the candidate of the party. And while they were doing that, Honorable Philip Shuaibu, the deputy governor of Edo State, also held a parallel primary, and that primary produced him as a candidate of the party. He's been in the media saying all manner of things, and he's still insisting that, look, he's the candidate of the party, and that, look, he will be going to court. In fact, Dennis Idahosa has also said he's going to go to court. The Labour Party, after all said and done, the back and forth, also held the primary that produced Tolu Midi Akpata, the former NBA chairman. And then, while we thought that the Labour Party had gotten it right, there was no problem, a particular faction of the party, of the Labour Party, as led by Baba Lamidi Akpapa, declared Anderson Asemota as the rightful candidate. In fact, they wrote to INEC to say this is our candidate. 2 minutes, Mr. Curtis. What is happening in Edo State, and what kind of politics are we playing in the country?
So what you find is what is called trickle-down politics. In other words, states adopt the attitude of their national political parties at the national stage. You just adopt it and make it worse or better. Yes, not make it worse. If you recall, when the Labour Party chairman Abure showed up in Edo and he was arrested by a petition generated by an individual who said he was sent to Edo State by the personal chairman of Papa. Yeah. I knew that there was going to be a problem. You understand? This would have been a golden opportunity for Edo people to have a real change by moving away from APC PDP, because I see them as two sides of the same 20 naira note that has lost value completely.
But the Labour Party is mentioning itself in the same crisis.
Unfortunately, they appear see that crisis that started from the federal level, which was a fight for the soul of the party to disqualify the presidential candidate, is still ongoing. So this is nothing surprising. This is how our politics has always been. You are going to see that the candidate will go to court, right? The Hausa will go to court.
Philip will go to court, yeah.
And then Olumide will go to court. And this matters will remain in the court. INEC will not know who the candidate will be until maybe a week to the election.
September 21 is the date of the election. So,
yeah, but the Supreme Court will finally settle the matter. You understand? So, I mean, I'm not expecting anything different. Again, like I said last week, nothing hopeful or democracy that works well.
But the APC corrected itself, and then Basi too came in.
Yeah, because he created that problem already. Even when the party now held the second primary to correct that, you understand? We have a saying in my place that when someone is a prince and on the line to becoming a king, you don't say to him, "Let's see how the bead fits on your hand."
You don't go remove him again.
He won't remove it. So if the house has been given the bead and he sees it on his hand
and he's already dreaming of the seats,
he's going to remove it.
Allah.
So these politicians just keep, and the only way to solve this problem, right, is to open up the political process.
Make it more transparent.
Exactly. Even the man that they emerged from the PDP, from the APC, the Senator
Monday, yeah.
we heard that is the candidate of Adams Oshomole.
No. Adams Oshomole is Dennis Idahosa. Senator Monday is said to be the candidate of this other man, Ize Yamu, Also Ize Yamu.
So Ize Yamu and Adams Oshomole are now fighting themselves.
It's serious fight. So they
keep atomizing conflict, this political conflict that serves no purpose. And then in the PDP, Aso Igodalo is the governor's candidate. Yeah, why
Philip is on his own.
So, yeah, man. Nothing surprising that.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Curtis. It's your state, Joseph Folorunso. 2 minutes so that we can open the phone lines.
Yeah, I think
because we need to deal with phone calls and a lot of messages. So.
I don't have issue with the party. Let them do whatever they are doing.
Okay.
The people will wait for them for
the courts.
The people first, but my challenge is just the courts and INEC.
Because they are they will go to court.
Three things that I'm just
expecting. Yeah.
The courts, which can even confuse us the more.
Like Barrister Curtis said, yes. INEC would not even know what to do.
INEC, then another worse agency that we need to beg now is the security agency. If you look at what happened in the APC primary, a whole commissioner of police, not even area commander or a division,
was looking at stocks, was scattering everything.
Maybe thought those guys are doing a
jamboree
or show or whatever. Instead of it to say, "Oh, this thing is not
cannot happen." A whole commissioner of police.
So if you have that kind of commissioner of police to conduct an election in that state, then it's going to be anarchy. Free flow of all sort of
chaos and crisis.
So I think we'll beg the president to maybe beg the security agency. The INEC should beg themselves because INEC in Nigeria we don't know. Then the courts. So we'll just wait. But for the people, I know that
you don't go beg politicians. Let them do what they want.
Let them do what they
want.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much, Barrister Curtis. I think we're going to open the phone lines now. 09136000410. Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. Yes, we had a 1 hour conversation with Sheik Ahmad, the very controversial Sheik Ahmad Abubakar Gumi. He has promised that he'll be in Lagos very, very soon, and he'll be in the studio with us to also look at national issues. Barrister Curtis Adigba is on the phone line, and we have here in the studio Joseph Folorunso. Let's start to take the calls now. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Sheik.
Yeah, we'll make it very fast this evening because of time. Yeah, Mr. Kawadi, please.
Who would you like to tell a little bit when you were probably interrogating
Sheik Gumi? Yeah.
Yes. concerning inside my home then.
You need to shift your position a bit, Kayode. We're struggling to hear you.
I hear you very well now.
Yeah, better now.
Thank you. Let me just go to Edu. If anything that is bad should be called bad, not something we need to probably run, walk around and walk it over just like that. I think INEC should be blamed in what is going on in Edu. If they don't act fast, INEC will be blamed. Because I believe that the INEC is having the kind of statutory body or
Mr. Kayode, you may have to call back. We're struggling really to hear you. The quality of the call is very bad.
I'll call back.
All right, 09136000410. 09136000410. 1 minute for every caller. 1 minute. Hello, good evening. Please turn down the volume of your radio set.
Okay.
Please turn. Okay, yes, better now. Your name?
Hello.
Yeah, your name. Where are you calling from?
Victor.
Victor. Where are you calling from, Victor?
Like that.
All right, please go on, Victor.
Okay, I want to look at the Gumi statement.
Yes.
That he has gone all through the jungle and things like that. Must the federal government come into negotiation, because it talks about the emirs, things like that.
Yes.
Before the kidnap will stop. And all over the world, no government have negotiated with terrorists.
Victor, that one we can argue it too. Even America, they will tell you they don't, but in reality, some things happen.
Okay, what America? Why? When the Americans, negotiate in a way, did they adopt them into their system?
Okay.
Into the military and things like that.
He didn't say they should bring the bandits into the military. He didn't say that. Yes, I'm with you.
No, we understand. Look, when the Americans, we must understand what the America is doing. It's something that I'm supposed to talk on air. It's something like trick. You treat them as if you want to do anything and capture them and do away with them. That's what the America do with them.
Okay.
Must we say it on air? So
that's your suggestion?
Yeah, you treat them. That's what the America do now. Like you want to negotiate on one thing or the other. It's like a trick. They come on board and the America do away with them.
All right.
So negotiate them. We are talking about terrorists that never change. And where this terrorists that we are talking about, where are they coming from? Are they Nigerians?
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Victor.
We have the civil war the other time. They are Nigerians. We can negotiate. We can put our heads together, and we resolve.
All right, thank you.
This fight is coming outside from Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Victor. We just want it to be
Hello,
one minute for every caller. Yeah,
good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Good evening. My name is Malam Salau.
Oh, Malam Salau. How are you doing?
FUHAD, you very well, and you, sir.
Yes.
FUHAD, you have forgotten to ask me about Tukurmamu now.
I wanted to ask him, but I decided to just leave that out for some.
You could have asked me.
We are on radio. There are some things we can't bring on air, so.
It's crucial. It's crucial,
yes.
Sir. Sir, you see the problem we're having in this country that we always put either religion or tribal into our own national issues. That is why we are not getting results. All over the world, sir, negotiation is allowed, sir. America, as a strong country, as one of the biggest, sophisticated in anything you think about, they negotiate. Let me give you one thing, sir. There is one staff sergeant that was arrested, was captured by Taliban. That negotiation happened either in Poland or Holland. You understand?
I'm with you.
Because of that particular one single staff sergeant, is Air Force officer. You understand?
Yes.
Five top commanders of Taliban were released from Guantanamo Bay in US.
Correct. You are correct.
You understand?
The negotiation happened in UAE and Qatar.
Good. Now, thank you, Barrister. Another negotiation has taken over in Israel. There was one 18-year-old boy. His name is Gulak Shalit. Was captured by Hamas between Gaza and Israel. Because of that particular 18-year-old guy,
Israel has to release about 3,000 Palestinians.
I think I told Victor that, look, a lot of negotiations happen. This idea that people don't negotiate.
You understand?
Yeah.
So when we come to Nigeria, you say don't negotiate. Sir, as I'm talking to you, Salah, I lost 2 of my close family 2022 to flying headers in my village. You understand?
I'm with you.
Do you know what happened? That fracas happened, and we now come to conclusion. All the neighboring villages around, that no flying headsmen, we shall see them economically, that no flying man will come to the village, to our own village, come to the town. We can't transact business with them. They can't come. They should remain where they are. You understand, sir? But do you know what happened? At the end, our elders and people now sat down and said that we are farmers. We must go to the bush now. And these people are in the bush. They must come. So let us reach a compromise. The article you are talking on, we have to bring their own leaders. And they sat down. That never done this thing. And we reach a consensus. And ever since, we have never had any issue again. You understand?
I'm with you.
So negotiation is allowed. Another issue is this. You know, I've told you this thing before. That when we are having problem in that we can't get results from Nigerian army and police is that we exercise appointment of our head of military.
Yeah, you said that.
You can't pick one person from bottom, Oga,
to override senior officers.
To arrive him and over. You see, Nigerian army has retired top general, about 100 of them, just because of one person to be a chief of army staff. And this thing not started in this government again. All the previous governments started have done this.
Yeah, you said that.
So this is, you can't get results.
Thank you, Malam Salah.
Thank you so much. You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much because of time. All right. 09136 0000410. Hello, good evening.
From
yes.
Let me. I want to clarify the INEC in the Dura.
Okay.
See, INEC should be more reasonable and responsive and be responsible for what is happening there now. They can act faster now. By the maybe opportunity in APR, which we call administrative dispute resolution. I don't know whether they can be able to do it, but at the same time, they need to call all these people to order 222. I mean, APC 2, FP 2, and what do you call them now?
But you know, Kawade, it's not INEC's job to call them to order. It is the court that will teach them a lesson.
Well, you know why I said INEC should be the one to have been given opportunity for this. INEC acts as accreditor now. They act as just like you have an institution where you need to accredit courses. They need to register these people as well. You know, they need to. I mean, these are the duties, the statutory duties of the INEC. Are you with me? We cannot take it away from them. They need to make sure that if you don't agree with your party don't supply just one, that means there is nobody that is contesting.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kawade.
Instead of going to court at all times, the governor, I think our government or governor should listen now. Let it in a bit for all. Categories of workers should be paid in time before these people die. Right. I am telling you, don't allow your people 12 years to go into shambles. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I take another call or read the messages, Barrister Curtis Adigba, Kawade is saying that, look, it's INEC's headache. They need to come in and rein these guys in. Do you agree that INEC has a problem or a role in all of this?
INEC conduct elections, but INEC don't choose candidates for the party.
Especially internal party issues.
So it's not INEC's problem. INEC will basically have to accept a list from the political parties, and if the court says those are not the authentic candidates, INEC will have to
do the needful.
Yes.
So it's not INEC's problem.
It's not INEC's problem at all.
All right. 09136 0000410. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. You need to get close to your phone. Maybe you remove your earpiece so I can hear you clearly. Hello, good evening. Okay, I think we just read messages now. It's not hearing me. Okay, we have quite a lot of messages here already. We have Prince Shola Shodeke saying good evening. And then we have Bright Samuel saying confusion is confusion. No two ways about it. You can hear Gumi confused while answering the question. He said we should settle the bandits and secure our forest. Why can't we secure our forest and let bandit that occupied the forest run away. Gumi is a bandit supervisor. Well, sympathizer, sorry. That's always been people's perception of him anyways. Good in Lagos and Nigeria. This is from Joseph Schockenstein. He's saying insecurity is eminent when and where leadership is exercised out of the rule of law and ungodly beliefs. Controversially, insecurity is carried out with resources unlawful to be used by citizens. Therefore, the state laws on security must be firm and each unit must be held accountable. Well, that is from Joseph Schockenstein. We have Prince Shola Joseph saying it's nice having a highly misconstrued fellow on our platform this evening. It has at least changed my perception of him. When we say mainland FM is our choice and the best in current affairs, I still need to be controverted. Well, thank you so much, Prince Shola Joseph, for trusting us with anything politics and current affairs. We have Oluwaseun Damilare Awoyemi saying, so this man brilliantly support the action of terrorists. Same way the Lagos State government sees nothing wrong with Agbero and Togo. When we start saying the truth to ourselves, we'll move forward. Till then, it will remain status quo as usual. Well, that is from Oluwaseun Damilare Awoyemi. We have Esther Kehinde Olatunji saying, oh, please, I just joined. As Gumi finished speaking. Well, we streamed it on Facebook and YouTube, so you can always go back to listen to what all he said on the show this evening. And then we have Akonji Benjamin Tede saying, good evening, my Oga Saheed FUHAD and the entire house. I agree with Mr. Gumi on everything he said, except granting amnesty to the terrorists. Those guys are pure criminals and must be punished. They should stop comparing those bandits, Boko Haram, X-Men, etc. to Niger Delta militants. What are they agitating for? They are terrorists and must face the law. And then we have Dada saying, what he is advising us that we should bring Mr. Dili Farotimi and David Undein, the journalists, to our platform. He talked about the Lagos State government building castles and being very political, saying all manner of things. We'll look into, we've tried to reach out to Mr. Dili Farotimi, and I'm sure we'll have him on our platform very, very soon. I don't know about David Undein as a journalist anyways. We have James Unwachi Ogbonna saying, distinguished FUHAD and gentlemen, I greet you essentially. Mr. FUHAD, do you know today is my first time of hearing Sheik Gumi's voice? In fact, I didn't know he was the one talking until you mentioned his name. I don't even know he was a military officer. I'd always thought he's a Muslim cleric. But Mr. FUHAD, I thought you were going to ask him how he's getting connection with this bandit. He said he visits them. I don't know. A lot of us have always questioned why he hasn't been invited by the DSF for questioning or possible arrest, because we know how Sunday Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu have been arrested. On Edo politics, we know the real candidate for the Labour Party, and that is Olumide Akpata, because Julius Abure remains the only national chairman of the Labour Party. In the end, the real candidates for the APC and the PDP will emerge. That's James Ogbonna from Oshodi. Then we have the world saying, my candid opinion is that we should introduce capital punishment and leave no stones unturned by arresting and giving capital punishment to all supporters and sponsors of terrorism. Well, that's the messages we have for now on Facebook. Let's go back to taking calls. Yeah, Mr. Curtis, you have something to say?
What? The guy who called said he doesn't understand why the Sheik Gumi has not been arrested.
Yes.
I will answer his question.
Good.
Just like I also don't understand why supporters of Igboho were not arrested. How many people visited Igboho in Cotonou were arrested? The fact that Sheik Gumi goes into the bush to meet with the bandit is not committing any crime. He's going there trying to seek to understand what the issues are. And it's left for the government to try to utilize its channel or not. But it's not promoting a banditry or criminality. And I think Nigerians understand that we want democracy. We should also understand what democracy entails. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Curtis Adiba. Before we take the phone, go back to taking phone calls. We have this message on YouTube from Kehinde Olatunji, who is saying the current insecurity is a cumulative effect of neglect from previous administration. When you have a conscious injustice coupled with corruption and nepotism. I think it's just again buttressing what Sheik Gumi had said about corruption, nepotism, and the issue of maladministration being the reason why we have this level of insecurity in the country. All right, 09136 0000410. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry to call back. I want to ask you a question.
Sorry, is it Victor?
Yes, sorry. I just want to ask you a
30
question.
seconds.
Please.
You've called before, yes, please.
It's not going to stop to 30 seconds even. I want to ask you a question.
Yes,
this
sir.
question goes to you. Do you support state police?
You. Of course, I support state police. Why not? If you've always listened to our show.
100%. I don't support 100. I don't support the state police.
You don't support
I want to ask you, yes, 100%. I did not, because they're going to corrupt them and it's going to affect many people. I want to ask you, do you support?
I support state police. Why not?
I support.
Okay, thank you.
I also support. Is the current police not being abused?
The current police is being abused. All right, thank you, Victor. Well, again, Barrister Curtis, but I think we'll discuss that during the week. A lot of suggestions on how we can have a state police that will not be abused by a politician, but that's not the conversation for this evening. 091-36000410. Hello, good evening.
A very good evening to you, Mr. FUHAD.
Good evening, Prince Wise.
Thank you, my dear.
Where are you calling from this evening?
I'm calling right away from Abubakar.
Okay, please go on.
Mr. Joseph, good evening to you.
The prison said, good evening, sir.
God bless you.
Yeah.
And bless the people of Edo State.
Amen,
But the people can do for the three parties.
With the Abubuya politics.
In fact, we are expecting someone else to go to court. Today, I listened to the deputy governor. He spoke very well. But he is not sure of emerging as they carried it. But as it is now, maybe some of them go to court. But as of now, I don't have no problem at all. Anybody that causes big, that's the work of the party. So for me, let's leave it for Edo people to decide. And for the Gumi, he must go very well. He must be speaking many years ago. Nothing happened. But if our president Tinubu, I will invite this man to answer us. I will tell him which way. Because the bandits we are talking about, they are being key. They say the neutralize them today. You see how they tomorrow do another thing. So as it is now, if we killing some of them can never eradicate these terrorists, the person, this man that knew them very well, you know where they had meeting, you know their leaders. Why can't they invite this man to help from him? Can he assist? That's the only solution now for me. If somebody is ready to mediate between the terrorists and with the masses, I will enjoy Mr. President to do that. He must go very well as it is. He can be arrested, but he can be invited to seek advice for him to tackle this insecurity in the country. So that's my own take this evening.
All right, thank you.
God bless you all of you in the studio.
Amen. Thank you so much, Prince White. 091-36000410. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. I got a message on Facebook and I just have to laugh. Hello, good evening. Okay, all right. It's the Political Roundtable Mainland 98.3 FM. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
My name is Solomon. I'm calling from Mota.
Okay, Mr. Solomon, please go on, sir.
As of Edo State primary, I think it's political greed. It will take them to where all these so-called mighty men, they will fall for the younger one to rise. That is for Edo State. As of Gumi, I want to beg one thing. The way we look, what do they call it, the way we want to be absorbing and talking to all these terrorists. If it's not taken, we will absorb them into the community until they take over our military. The first question we ask, and we have to ask on, what happened to our military? That they are not so cheap to all these terrorists. Absorbing them into the system or maybe try to advance with them is not the issue. What we are going to look into is what has happened to Nigeria. That the way these people are speaking up because something else. Any government that comes, they are smarter than them. They are smarter than any government that comes in. At the end of the day, we don't have words in our mouth. And Bible concludes this, we cannot continue a sin for grace to abide. I don't think bringing them into the system or trying to harmonize with them will be the best. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Subon from Ota. Again, a lot of us wonder what has happened to our military. And I think that was the first question I asked him. How did we get to this terrible situation? But again, he said a lot of things. One of them that we need to take note of is corruption. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Ford. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay, good evening to Mr. Florencio and
Mr. Curtis. Yes.
Good evening, sir. You know, yeah, thank you. I think I'm proud of you. You're one of our own. I will always listen to you, and I'm very happy with your analysis.
You have not told us your name.
My name is Muhammad Abbas.
Oh, Muhammad Abbas. From Ikeja, right?
Yes. I listen to Sheik. I'm very happy with him, and they always support him. When you say is okay, that's how you think. You need to negotiate. You need to find solutions to the problem, because you try all options to make sure that change has to come to the land. And we are very hungry also, but this government has to do something about it. So I'm very happy to hear him, Sheikh, and I'll be happy to hear Mr. Curtis. The program is okay, actually, but the country is not good at the moment. This government has to change its policies. Otherwise, I don't think they can finish the careers in the government. I'm appealing to the military. Police should be patriotic enough to look after the poor people in Nigeria. If the government is not doing well, police they should take over. Thank you.
No, we can't. Again, some of the things we always say, it's a no. Or as far as this platform is concerned, it should not even be a point of discussion. We say it severally. It will never be an option. It can never be an option, and we should not even encourage it. I think we are old enough to know. Some of the things that happened with the military in power. It shouldn't be an option. It shouldn't even come.
Even the military don't even want it.
And they've said it's not even the best for us at this time. So why should when the people you are calling and saying no, we cannot even be talking about it because it is not an option as far as the country is concerned. So Muhammad Abbas, I think I don't want the situation where we begin to blacklist people on the platform for making calls that are not fit for radio. Well, thank you for the call, but it's not for this platform. We can't encourage things like that. 09136 000 410 09136 000 410. Hello, good evening. All right, Barrister Curtis, the issue of the economy that Sheik Gumi mentioned, even though he said he's not a socialist, but he wants us to begin to look at that other side where socialism has helped them. But let's take this call before I allow you to. Okay, I think so. But can we create a balance? We've seen countries that practice some form of robust economy, a bit of the West and a bit of the East. Can we create a balance? Hello, Mr. Curtis. Yes.
Yes, we can create a balance.
Oh, okay. I think we have a call. Let's just take this call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, your name and where are you calling from, sir?
My name is Ken. I'm calling from Agbado in Ogun State.
Ken from Agbado, okay.
Yes. So if Gumi talk about amnesty, I don't know the kind of amnesty we want to give. Nigerians, we don't have national ID card that we can present anywhere. Only few people, and not majority of the people that have national ID card. Even if you want to give amnesty, it means we are going to give to most of the youths that are from neighboring countries, which we cannot really identify. Because in my environment, if you look at the people that are riding bike, majority of them are from, we may say they are from the north. But if you look at them carefully, they are not even Nigerians. So we should not talk about amnesty. We can negotiate and bring peace to Nigeria and the neighboring countries also. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ken from Agbado. Okay, before we pick any other call, so Barrister Curtis, can we strike a balance? Do we have economies that have been able to look a bit to the west and a bit to the east?
What most people do not understand is that China also practices capitalism. But China practices state-sponsored capitalism. In other words, the country creates the enabling environment and sometimes go above and beyond what
supporting private businesses.
by providing seed capital for businessmen in order to operate in the industry that the country feels is critical to growth and development of their own economy. And that is why in China, the government can make you and not make you. Because they must also abide by the strict rules of the government. So I think we've got to look in their direction, because that pattern and that model is working and working very well in all the Asian tigers. Now, what we have right now are few individuals who are highly connected to current government or the previous government. Like the richest man in Africa said, you cannot be a successful business in Nigeria, successful businessman, or run a successful business in Nigeria if you are not connected to those in power.
Without government backing, he said it, yes.
Without government backing. So whether you like it or not, that's another form of government practicing capitalism. Because they lease out or hand over national assets to him. To manage.
So you think that kind of support can be extended, spread across, not lopsided?
Yes, it can. And I think that was what the current president mentioned, something like that about giving 1 billion to 70 people or so, if you recall.
It has not happened though.
In the speech that he gave. Yes, it's in the pipeline.
Oh.
Not able to go and break pipeline.
Hope you will not break the pipeline before the thing come out.
To see it,
All right, thank you so much. Let's just take, I think, one more call, and then we'll take the final, the final thing for the show this evening. Okay, 09136000410. Hopefully, we can get one last lucky call before we call it a day on the show. Okay, do we have a call? Okay, all right, but let me just allow you. Let me just take this message from Sean Johnson. Yes, in as much as we look towards the East and Asia, we should know that no region and country will not want to assist without vested interest. Finally, amnesty is a no-no for people that kill, maim, and kidnap innocent people. No form of terrorism should be allowed, whether through sympathy due to suffering and economic conditions. If not, we that are trying to make a good living by not going into banditry, terrorism, will look stupid. Again, it's a no-no to any form of negotiation. I think it's been a robust conversation, really looking at all sides of this particular matter. I think we can take the last call for the evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir.
You need to turn down the volume of your radio set, please. Or move away.
My name is Frank.
Your name is what?
Elder Frank.
Elder Frank.
Frank. I'm calling from Ajegule.
Okay, Ajegule Papa. Please go on, sir. Just 1 minute because we are running out of time.
Okay, my perception is that this man Gumi has been somebody of all these terrorists, kidnappers, and so on and so forth. Why not call him? Why not the government call him, sit him down, ask him what do they do? Because people see him as some but for me, he can still help the government, he can help the nation. What we are suffering now is too much. If one thing that want to help, I think that would be appreciative. There's no point of trying to arrest him. It doesn't make any sense. If I like to come, invite him, talk for him to see what he can do to help the nation. We are suffering. Every people are dying. It's not the best.
All right. Thank you so much, Elder Frank from Ajegule. All right, Barrister Kotisagba, your final take this evening.
Well, again, let me re-emphasize the need for this country to checkmate corruption at all levels. At all levels of government. I've said before that corruption fighting is not on the exclusive list. So nobody can say, the reason why we're not fighting corruption is because it's not on it's on the federal government.
This one is on all lists.
Yes, this one is on all lists. And state governors, local government chairmen, every level of government needs to do something about corruption if we are to move forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kotisagba, for finding time to join us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you, sir. All right, Joseph Olorunso, your final take this evening.
My final thought is Gumi to me is an asset to this nation. It just the way we make best use of his information we are getting from him. We now see how smart we are. On Edo, I believe the wonderful people Edo will take care of
the politicians.
If the party they are dancing this kind of dancing, then I think at the poll,
the people will
decide on what they want to do. And I will continue to emphasize that the president should see what he can do. Issue of food. Benue should be one of the most peaceful and secure place.
Well, that's the food basket of the nation.
The food basket of the nation. Forget about whether they are part of minority or not. We need them more than ever, and extend that to other part of Nigeria that we must. Issue of food scarcity, we just have to look for a way to resolve it.
All right, we have to look for a way to resolve the problem of food scarcity and crisis in the country. Benue should be safe. That's the food basket of the nation. Well, this is where we call it a day. Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Saheed Fuhad. Let's do this again next week.